Yes, I am wearing my book hat. And did you even notice that I hadn't been wearing it in the past videos? Anyways, the first book that I read this month was Beloved by Toni Morrison. What a great book. Oh my gosh. It is easily the most incredible and dark and devastating case of magical realism that I've ever experienced. To put this into perspective for you, the book Beloved is in part based on a true story of a woman who escaped slavery with her family, and when the police surrounded them and were about to capture them, she killed her own child rather than let her child experience the horror of growing up in slavery. So that's the sort of subject matter that we're dealing with in this book. It is heavy stuff, but it is so good. The writing is very stylized and artistic. It feels like every word that she's using is painting a picture. It's just wonderful. Incredible. Loved it. Then I listened to the audiobook for The Farthest Shore by Ursula K. Le Guin, part of the Earth-Sea cycle. I may have fallen asleep at the very end of the audiobook, but I wasn't quite invested enough to go back and make sure that I actually processed the ending. I think I can safely sum up the concept of this book as: imagine you're scared of dying, but you live in a magical world. That's the book. If that interests you, start reading the Earth-Sea cycle right now, because once you get to book 3, you'll be there. Okay. Next up, I read Eva Luna by Isabel Allende. Isabel Allende is fast becoming one of my favorite authors of all time. And with Eva Luna, she is so back. I don't think she ever left, but she's so back. She is much backer than she was. Eva Luna, the character, is a storyteller, and you basically just follow her around from the time of her childhood up on through her adulthood. You go through her different loves, romances, revolutionary stuff, because it's Isabel Allende. Of course, there's going to be revolutionary stuff. It's delightful. It's got Isabel Allende's classic style. Thank you, Isabel Allende. Everybody say it, not just me. We should all be thanking her. Next up, I took a gander at reading Fortunata and Jacinta by Benito Perez Galdós, a Spanish writer from Spain, in a book about Spain. What can I say about this book? I didn't finish it. Let's start there. This book has some really dull bits in it where it's just like describing the business of selling fabrics and how this person made their money doing that. But then it has these really delightful, spicy, intriguing, character-driven scenes. So it was a balancing act of like, am I in a boring bit right now? Am I in an exciting bit right now? Is it worth continuing going for the next 700 pages? I ended up returning it to the library, and the second that I did that, I regretted it, and now I want to finish it again. So I will be finishing that again at some point. It's just that there's a lot of books to read. So I'm not saying that I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that I haven't read it and that I probably will keep reading it at some point. And wish me luck with that. Thank you. Next up, and you're not going to believe I did this, I read Zorro by Isabel Allende. I needed more Isabel Allende, so I just dived right back in with Zorro. Which, did you all know that Zorro means fox? I had no idea. This is the origin story of Diego de la Vega. A surprising amount of this book is Diego, who becomes Zorro when he's a child. Right at the very start of this book, there's a scene where some Catholics are fighting some Native Americans. And at that point, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it because I didn't want the Native Americans to just be portrayed as like savages. But I can assure you, having read the whole thing, it didn't reduce Native Americans to some savage trope or anything like that. And it's exciting, it's swashbuckling, it's funny, it's everything that I would expect from an Isabel Allende book or a Zorro book. I read Planet of the Apes by Pierre Boulle, because I didn't realize that those movies were all based on a book and that the book was so short and so readable. It's also surprisingly similar to the original movie. I will say there is a twist at the end of this novel, which is very fun, and it is different from the twist at the end of the film. So if you're looking for something that's very readable, gonna be a quick read for you, I did it in like a day, and you wanna find out what the original twist for the Planet of the Apes was, maybe check out that book from your library. I will say that the entire relationship with Nova I thought was questionable in the original film. I find it even more questionable in the book, but I leave it for you to decide when you read it. Haha. I then read The Principles of Communism by Friedrich Engels. Yeah, I'm planning to go back and reread some of the foundational pillars of communism type writings. And I figured I should start with Principles of Communism because this thing is like 40 pages long. It's available for free to read on the Marxist Internet Archive. I do not recommend buying this as a physical copy or getting it from your library. Just go and read it online. It's like an article. The whole thing is written in question and answer format. What is communism? Definition of communism. Why are we communists? Explanations of why we're communists. All kinds of goodies in that. Super quick read. Everybody should read this. Yeah, it's just good classic commie stuff, and I highly recommend it. I then read The Moomins and the Great Flood by Tove Jansson? That's probably not how it's pronounced. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know why, but I saw a picture of a Moomin troll recently, and I was instantly obsessed with it and decided I wanted to read the whole series. I would describe this book as a more chaotic version of Winnie the Pooh in a good way. And that's coming from Winnie the Pooh's #1 fan, so I do think that this is good. I also understand that this book isn't really usually viewed as the actual first book in the Moomin Troll novel series. It's kind of like a prelude to what's to come, and a lot of people don't like it as much. But I thought it was just really fun, weird adventures, and I love the artworks. There's a little creature that's just called the Little Creature, and it even kind of looks like Piglet a little bit when you look at it. The drawings of Piglet, I mean, like comparing the original drawings of Piglet to the drawings of the little creature in this book. And I'm not going to show any of those pictures on the screen because I'm so tired from all the editing that I did for my last video. So, sorry, you'll just have to imagine it or look it up for yourself. And moving on, oh, that's all the books that I read this month. And they were great, weren't they? Thank you. Okay. Here's what I'm currently working on reading. I'm reading The Journey to the West Revised Edition, Volume 3, translated by Anthony C. Yu. I've only read one chapter so far. Yeah, it still holds up, I tell you what, based on the one chapter that I read, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but don't worry about it. This is the main thing that I'm working on reading through right now. This is Arabian Nights. Now, this copy is the annotated Arabian Nights, which is why it's so ridiculously big. If you can see here, the actual writing of the book is only on these like middle margins, and the outer side is where they're putting all of the notes for everything. So yeah, it reads pretty quick because of that, because you're only reading like half the page, and the text is decently sized. So that's nice. Why am I reading this edition? Because this edition is translated by Yasmin Seal, and everything that I've looked up, everything that I've read, has me convinced that Yasmin Seal is the best translator of Arabian Nights. And having read that much of it, safe to say, her translation work is incredible. And I desperately wish that we could get an unannotated version of just her translation of the stories itself, because this is too big, but I would kill to have just like a nice little copy that's her translation. And so I need you to know that. I mean, look, the translation feels like timeless and effortless. It's so easy to read, but also so beautiful and poetic. I understand that she also cut out a lot of inaccuracies and added in racism that came with earlier translations. So I think she's the way to go. Having the time of my life. I have big plans for next month for reading. I am hoping to go absolutely bonkers and just nuts and crazy and stupid and stuff with it, reading style. So stick around, hit subscribe. Don't you want to know what kind of crazy radical stuff I'm reading next month? Hit subscribe to find out. We could be in this together. You and me. Anyways, I appreciate ya for watching my video. I also just appreciate you in general. Your existence is a wonderful thing, and thanks for that. But also, if you left a comment and a like, that would be sick.